Teagan. You can reach me at Teagan.rock. And I'm on Denver Dev's channel as Teagan42 because of my obsession with Hitchhiker's Guide. And as we go through this, please feel free to ask questions. It has been pointed out to me before. I sometimes will gloss over things that are perfectly common sense to me and may not be for everybody else. So please just raise your hand and I'll stop where I'm at and try to answer your question. Okay, where's my mouse? Alright, so a little bit about me. Started coding when I was 12. My dad introduced me to Visual Basic 5, and from there I taught myself C, C++, and C#. I started coding for Excel Energy at 19, modeling power plants for their testing software, or testing team. I've now worked in so many languages I forget what I worked in, but primarily .NET and some Java derivatives. And I love to learn. If I could be a career student, I totally would be. I spent about 10 years in college, starting from when I was 16. I went to Colorado School of Mines, moved to Metro, from where I got a physics degree, mathematics, computer science, and started an electrical engineering degree, but realized I needed to actually start making some money and not whiskey. And I am, and always have been, a very lazy person. I've always looked for ways to make my life easier, and this is kind of spawned by love of the Internet of Things and automation. So some of the things I've automated around my house and in my life. My house will notify my friends and family via text messages when I'm in their area. It also sends my family texts if the front door has been open for too long, alerting me to other anomalies in my house. When I get in my car, I'm missing some. So anyway, my alarm system is based entirely on presence detection, as my friend James here will attest. As soon as you walk in, as soon as he or one of my family members walks up to my house, the door's unlocked, the alarm system's disabled, we don't have to enter any codes. It just happens. When I get into my car, my phone will automatically turn off my Wi-Fi, start up all my music, set my orientation for my car mount, and dimming the screen because it tends to be really bright in the car. And as soon as I'm done connecting, or as soon as I turn my car off, it resets it exactly the way it was before. I have a nice, awesome movie mode, which I will show you later. It's really cool. I have Alexa voice control for my house. Basically controls everything in my house. I can ask it to turn on and off things. I can even ask it where my wife is. I can say, Alexa, ask Eddie where is Grace, and it'll actually tell me she's out, she's at her friends, that kind of stuff. And I am so obsessed with Hitchhiker's Guide that I actually have Alexa respond with some of the sound bites from Hitchhiker's Guide movie. It's pretty funny. I love it. My thermostat is also based on presence detection. Basically, if we're home, it cools it to a nice, comfortable temperature. If we're not, it doesn't cool it as far. Same thing for winter. This way, I'm not wasting so much electricity. I'll show you how to do that. I have soil and moisture sensors, temperature, humidity, individual solenoid valves, and all of that in my marijuana grow. I even have weather-aware sprinkler systems. Again, that's something I'm going to show you a nice recipe before I get started. And this one I don't have yet, but I'm working on automating my chicken coop, closing and opening the gate, alerting me when there's eggs, and automatic water, all that kind of stuff. So, everybody's talking about the Internet of Things, but not everybody knows exactly what that is. I'm going to read from Wikipedia. Wikipedia says, the Internet of Things, IoT, is the network of physical devices, vehicles, buildings, and other items, embedded with electronics, software, sensors, actuators, and network connectivity that enables these objects to collect and exchange data. So, a lot of words to basically say if it talks to the internet, it's an IoT device. Your phone is an IoT device, your computer, all of it. So, there are a litany of devices that fall into this category, including even trash cans. Not joking. There's a Twitter account called the Internet of Shit, and it loves to make fun of the devices that really have almost no need to be internet connected, but really, who doesn't want a trash can that tweets? I mean, most Internet of Things devices require you to connect to a cloud service, be it Wink, Insteon, Nest, SmartThings. Everyone wants to use their service, and it's pretty painfully obvious why. One of the main reasons why most IoT device manufacturers want you to use their cloud service, marketing. They want to know about you. They want data on you. They want to know how you live your life. They want to know how you interact with your things. And then they want to sell it to advertisers. They make it so that you have almost no control over what happens with that data. And I don't know about you, I'm tired of being the product. So, another thing that's a little that's big in the internet community, technology community, is the concept of forced obsolescence. Manufacturers want you to spend your money on new and fancy devices. Apple is unilaterally removing the 3.5mm audio jack. Light bulbs have been designed over the years to wear out sooner using thinner and thinner filaments for the old incandescent bulbs, and LED bulbs are even adding in artificial lifespans. They actually have an unspoken agreement on how long LEDs will last before they basically will self-destruct. The Internet of Things is no different. Revolve was a $300 smart hub that you could control most of the devices in your house. It was pretty cool. It had about a 2-year manufacturing run, and yeah, that's past tense. Revolve was first released in 2013 and contained 7 different antennas. They all integrated with Insteon, Wink, Wi-Fi, radio frequency, among others. And this was pretty revolutionary back then, hence the name. And now we have HomeSeer, Izzy, and some others that are trying to imitate this multiple-in-one hub style. Now, Revolve was acquired by Nest in October of 2014 to help build out the Works with Nest platform. And in fact, a lot of users, or it was the first device to actually receive this branding, and a lot of users were ecstatic because now they could integrate with the Nest, which is Google, cloud service. And of course, Nest did say that the hub would no longer be manufactured, but I mean, if you own the hub, you'd think it would still work, right? Wrong. Back in February of this year, a quiet letter notifying users appeared on the Revolve homepage. Basically, it told them that your hub and your cloud service and your hub would no longer work come mid-May. Now, I don't know about you. I don't keep track of any of my manufacturer's device websites, blogs, or information like that. I mean, if you do, good for you. I just don't have that kind of time. May 16th of 2016, if you still used your hub, your house went dark. Now, planned obsolescence is not always a bad thing, but forced obsolescence can be a real pain in the ass for users like me. So, now every manufacturer, of course, thinks they have the best platform, you should use theirs. So this is a list of just some of the IoT protocols. We have Bluetooth, Zigbee, radio frequency, Wi-Fi, Thread, Z-Wave, X10. This is not all of them. And let's see what Randall over at XKC has to say about this. Now, we have a lot of awesome devices that all communicate on different protocols, some wireless, some wired, and getting them all to talk together can be a seemingly impossible task, especially for your average user who just wants it to work. So you may be saying, what can I do? Well, Home Assistant I/O to the rescue. There are other options, such as OpenHHV, but I've actually found Home Assistant to be such a pleasure to work with that I am now a contributor to the project. And I can show you some code later if you'd like. So on the subject of protocols and standards, the list is too long to read, so I made a little video to show you. Did that not play over there? It's not playing over there. Let's play there. So you may see some names in here that you'll recognize. D-Link, Nest, SmartThings, Amazon, Web Services. You may see some that you don't. MQTT, which is the MQ telemetry transport. It's a lightweight Protocol for sending data to and from devices. But so far, I haven't found a device that doesn't integrate mostly flawlessly with Home Assistant right out of the box. It's actually pretty crazy, and let's stop you there so we don't have shit going on. It's pretty crazy the amount of integrations that are baked into Home Assistant, and if you don't have the time or knowledge to build out integration, their GitHub ideas and issues page are a great place to ask, and they also have a chat room. I'll have a link at the end of the presentation for you to go, and you can ask for help integrating it, or you can ask them to do it for you. Where did my mouse go? Right. It's open source, like I said, which is great. It has twice monthly releases to master, which is pretty great for average users. If you're more into wanting the cutting edge, you can grab the dev branch. It's totally stable. We are really, really rigid on unit tests and style, so all the documentation is up to date as well. If you're like 90% of most users, that's how you install it. And that's your starting configuration. And you are up and running. Basically, you set your latitude and longitude, your temperature unit, although that is changing now, or it should be this weekend, if they approve my pull request, and your time zone. The front end basically lets you have a front end. You can run this headless if you want to. It also runs on Raspberry Pi, Debian, Mac, Windows. They even have a self-installing script that for Raspberry Pi that just does it all for you, sets up all the startup scripts. It's pretty cool. Now the front end is built using Polymer's front material design, and it's reactive to fit in your devices. It uses WebSockets for streaming updates. It can be disabled via the menu drawer. The development mode also gives you access to call services. You can view and edit state attributes of your devices, and there's template testing. I'll come back to templates a little later, but they're really powerful and really cool. Also, it has voice commands built in. There's the built-in conversation component, which is a little bit more rigid. You have to word it exactly how it's expecting. Turn device on or off. You can also build out Alexa integration really simple. If you know how to build an Alexa skill, there you can add a little bit more flexibility to what you say and how to control your devices. This is the basic history. It keeps track of your device states. If these are just states, if it's a numeric value, it actually will give you a graph. This is my speed test, and you can notice I have Comcast. If this isn't enough for you, you can actually integrate it with InfluxDB, Splunk, StatsD, Graphite, log entries, basically any time series data set you can integrate it with, ready to go. And there's even a log entries, which is a reverse chronological list of events in your system that basically show you like what most recently happened. You can add custom events to that for your own information. So, once you've installed Home Assistant on your chosen device, now you're going to configure all your devices. You'll need to follow the configuration on the components page on your Home Assistant website. It's really easy. That video that I showed that had all the integrations, each one of those is clickable and it shows you exactly how to configure it. Some of them require API keys, and they go and tell you how to get those API keys. Next, you're going to use the system, but you're not going to use any automation. Now, you may be asking, why would I want to use this if it's without automation? Well, you want to use it to find patterns in your life. You want to create time windows to prevent false positives. My wife's work has really poor GPS coverage, and so some of the time the notification will get duplicated. It'll think she's left the office and then come back, and I'll get notifications throughout the day. Maybe that's her going to lunch, maybe that's her ducking out of work, but I don't know. But by setting time windows and delays, you can kind of alleviate the false positives. You may forget to close the garage door or turn out some lights. This will allow you to figure out what automation will actually benefit you the most and prioritize. Once you get a good set of data, you can actually have the house predict your needs. So imagine you have a motion sensor in your bedroom that tells the Home Assistant, oh, you're awake now. And you've figured out how long it takes you to get to the kitchen from getting up and after going to the bathroom, your tea is ready right away. Your garage door is open for you. Your car, which is not integrated yet, is preheated for the winter. Really, you can have everything ready to go before you even need it. So now, this is where the fun part happens, at least I find it fun. So let's start with some recipes. And I think the best way to start is let's help the planet. We're going to use automation to reduce our water usage through sprinklers. You may not know this, but sprinklers can use up to 256 gallons of water per hour, which is more than your entire daily household usage. So let's reduce that amount by using weather-aware sprinklers. Now, there are smart sprinklers out there that you can buy right off the shelf, and they integrate in with Home Assistant without having to do much configuration. A couple examples, the Rakio, which is $200, and the Rain Machine, which runs around $250. I personally use a Raspberry Pi. Any of them work, and an $8 relay. That's about 45 bucks. I'll give you. Here are some examples of how you would get your current precipitation, so whether it's going to rain or not. You got Forecast.io, you got Open Weather Map, and they have a couple other ones, Euro and Yahoo Weather. Really, you just need one, but you can set up multiple ones if you don't trust it. Now, Raspberry Pi, if you don't know, has a whole bunch of little pins that can be used for inputs, such as buttons or sensors, or outputs. Home Assistant on the Raspberry Pi allows you to configure these pins as a switch output or a binary sensor input. Here, you've got the ports. They're your GPIO, genuine general purpose input output pin. So you've got your pin numbers and a label for them. So in this case, pin 4 is my zone 1 in my sprinkler system. You may want to get more descriptive, front yard, backyard. And then some relay boards require an inverted logic. Basically, instead of a high value being on, it's actually off. So you just tell that right there. So the triggers themselves are really straightforward. You'll need one trigger for each zone, and you can use cron-like notation as I've used here, so that if the hour of the day is divisible by 8, then it's going to run the sprinklers. You can also enter a list of hours, so you can enter a single value. I'm also working on making it so it's completely dynamic. They have to be hard-coded as of right now. This trigger also has an added condition that it will only run if the weather precipitation is less than 1 inch or centimeter, depending on the weather provider you're using. So basically, if it's not raining, we're going to run our sprinklers. Now here, we need to turn off our sprinklers. The first trigger is just our default. We're going to run our sprinklers for 15 minutes. And, we will run our sprinklers for 15 minutes at a time, and after which, we're going to send the turn off command. Because this trigger can be triggered by any one of those switches, we need to know which one was actually running for that 15 minutes. So here we're using a template to say, give me the entity ID that triggered this action. The second trigger is for when it starts raining during our sprinklers run. Here, I'm going to make it run for at least 5 minutes just in case it's a short storm. And also, we have our 1 inch down here. Same thing down here for the template. We're going to ask it basically which one of these switches do I need to turn on. So, now, shortening the duration of skipping watering altogether based on when it rains, but I think we can do a lot better. Now, you can pull in the actual forecast of precipitation. So, you may want it to have a trigger that sets a will rain flag, and if it has forecasted precipitation of 60% or higher, then we're going to consider it that it's going to rain today. So we reduce our duration by, say, 7 minutes, so it's only half as long. Just always remember to clear that flag after a certain amount of time. Otherwise, it may continue on to the next day, next day, next day, and it keeps thinking that it has rained and it hasn't. Now, you can also adjust the duration based on the ambient temperature. So if it's 90 degrees out there, your plants are going to want a little bit more water. If it's 70, you don't need as much water. You can actually set a delay in your scripts dynamically now based on whatever inputs you want, whether it's an input slider or weather forecast. Now, if you want to get really fancy, you can pick up some soil moisture sensors and only run the zones that actually need water. Basically, go to put these moisture sensors out in your yard. You'll have to figure out something for the wires. But if they say they don't need water, then don't run it. These sensors are really cheap. About 5-pack for $8 on Amazon. Hook up in 2 seconds. I'm not kidding. They're really easy. Right. So now your home is probably your castle, and you want to feel safe in your house. Now, sure, you can pay for 24/7 home monitoring, but it's really expensive and not always worth it. First, when your alarm goes off, they may be overseas, so that may not be much security for you. And also the fact that they're going to be calling you first to verify that your system is in fact operating correctly. Maybe you accidentally walked in and forgot to hit the pin, or you just, I don't know. And if you're a fan of South Park, you may already know this. Oh no. Alright, so we're going to cut out that middleman. For this, you're going to need some open and close sensors. You may have seen some advertisements on TV. They're little magnetic devices that you put on your windows and doors, and if they get opened, when the little switch is set to armed, they make a really annoying sound. They actually have these that integrate with Insteon and Z-Wave and a couple other protocols without the annoying sound. Some do have the annoying sound. You're going to want some webcams. I have a few of them around my house. Basically, there's no need to call the police if your daughter's phone is dead and she opened the front door. You want to make sure that it's actually somebody intruding into your house. Smart lights are there to hopefully scare the intruder into thinking maybe somebody actually is home and gets at your house. Alright. This trigger, this one uses no templates, really straightforward. If we're not home and one of the doors is open, we're going to run a script called intruder alert. And basically, what we're going to do is we're going to send a text, in this case through our Amazon Web Service and notification service, and turn on all the lights in the house. Templates are pretty fantastic. Here I'm actually injecting the URL to the webcam still frame so that I can actually have on my text message there's a possible intruder and a link that just opens up the image. So not only do I get notified, I have view without having to go to my home page and go browse through all my components, because when you get to a point where mine, it's just lists of components and it's a little unwieldy. Now this setup is really basic, and you may not find it enough to ease your anxiety or cancel your 24/7 home monitoring service. So instead of just turning the lights on, you can flash the lights, or even you can blast audio through your AV or your Sonos system, and bonus points if you blast this. All right, anyway. You can set up your notification to send to text to neighbors because they may be in a better position to verify that there are in fact intruders, or even coordinate with authorities to make sure that everything's okay. If you've ever seen the first Home Alone movie, then you might remember a scene where the wet bandits are sitting out front of the house and it looks like there's a party going on. But really, it's just Kevin with strings and music and he's dancing around. You can kind of do that with Home Assistant. You can set up motion detectors in your front and backyard, and if it detects motion near the house, start playing music, start turning on lights on and off, make it look like somebody's home so they don't even try to get in. Now, I like to save money. Do you like to save money? Idiocracy, great movie. I would recommend. Pretty much everyone uses schedules on their thermostat, but what about when you deviate from your schedule? Heating and cooling an empty house costs a lot of money. I actually had a friend who they let their air conditioning run 24/7 because the schedule was, I don't remember why, and his bill for a 2-bedroom apartment was easily 2 times my house. So he was pretty crazy. So let's see how we can use home automation, Home Assistant to reduce our HVAC costs. So you're going to need a thermostat. However, you don't even need a smart thermostat. You can grab a Raspberry Pi and a relay board and some temperature sensors to build what they call a generic thermostat. You can literally tell it, this relay is the heat, this relay is the fans, this relay is the cooling, and here's my temperature. Talk to Raspberry Pi for it. Make your own smart thermostat. Because I know the new Honeywells, the ones with like touch screens, are like $250. I have a cheapo Honeywell in my house for like $50. It came with my furnace. For presence detection, if you have a compatible router, that's great, or you can get even fancier with GPS tracking using OwnTrax or Locative. Locative is only an iOS device or app. OwnTrax is both. It uses the MQTT transport layer. All right, so here we're going to dissect this. This one's a little bit more complicated, and we're going to start with the actions. So basically, when we're home, we're going to, and it's warm out, we need to cool it, we're going to set thermostat to cool the house, and we're going to set our set point to 77. I personally like, the cooler than the warmer, depends on you, but 77 is my set point in this example. Now, to run these actions, or we want to run these actions when we're home, so family, home, and either the current temperature is over our set point, or we're already cooling the house, but the temperature is not 77. Now, the last one might be a little confusing, but it's basically there for when we're in away mode, which is a higher temperature, and we now want to go to home mode. Again, I mentioned templates before. You can't do this without templates. You can use the states and come close, but this way it allows it to trigger for any of these, if any of these conditions change, not just one of them. Home Assistant uses the Jenga 2 templating engine. It's an open source. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but if you find the documentation, it's pretty cool. You can actually set variables. You can iterate over arrays and devices. I highly recommend you browse the documentation using. When we're away, here I set the set point to 82. I still want the house to be livable for my dog, but I don't want to heat it to the 77 that I am spoiled to. And also, we want to set it when we're not home. It's the only other difference. When we're heating in the wintertime, we're going to want the house to be comfortable. I set the temperature to 69. I find that a pretty comfortable temperature here, and we invert the equality sign. So if the temperature is less than 69, we're going to heat it up. Now at this point, it should be basically straightforward. We're not home and it's cold out. We don't want to heat it as much. Don't forget this trigger, because your house will freeze, including your pipes and your dogs, and you will have a mess on your hands. Now these triggers enable you to control your thermostat automatically based entirely on presence detection, but you could get even better. There's this option, a concept called an input slider, which is basically just a little slider. It's a virtual device. It doesn't connect to any of your actual hardware, but it allows you to set values. So in those previous templates where it says 77 or 82 or 69 or 65, you can set those so that they're dynamic. You can pull it right off that. So if you, for some reason, you're sitting there at home and it's actually kind of chilly at 79, you want to turn the temperature up a little bit, you just change it, and the trigger will handle it. If you want to be a prima donna, you may want to prefer your house to be mostly comfortable before you can get home. You can use GPS tracking and Google travel times to detect when you leave the office, get the travel time from the office to your home, delay the script however long it takes to get you to about 15 minutes from home, then trigger the cooling and heating. All that is actually out of the box. You don't have to do much other than some configurations. If you want to save even more money, you can time boxes. Where am I at? I'm sorry. Yeah, you can set it based on those input sliders based on the weather forecast. So if it's going to be 79 degrees out there, why are we pulling it to 77? 79 is close enough. Good. That way you're not using as much AC or gas for your furnace. You can also throw in multiple temperature sensors. You can generate an average temperature around your house to get a better picture of what's happening. You can generate a heat map. That requires a little bit more thought process behind it, but you can also take it to a whole nother level, put a temperature sensor in every room, and a servo in your register vents, and any room that's already in a comfortable temperature range, close the vent. You can also entertain your friends and family with automation. Now, this is probably one of my favorite tricks. I love to show it off. Most people think it's really cool. And yeah, I do have this implemented in my house. All right, so let's see what we need to get the full movie theater experience in your home. You're going to want some floorboard lights. These can be Philips Hue light strips or LEDs right off the Raspberry Pi. And then your main light fixture in your room needs to be on some sort of smart outlet or a smart light bulb, because a movie is, after all, best in the dark. You're going to want a media player that's compatible. Kodi and Plex offer probably the most control. They actually allow you to determine whether or not it's a TV show or a movie that you're watching. Kodi will go a step further and even tell you what movie file or what file you're playing. Plex, I don't think you can get that close. But if you don't have Kodi or Plex, you can use a smart TV or like Amazon Fire TV. The problem with those is it tends to just go off of anything you're watching. So if you open up YouTube, all of a sudden you're in movie mode. It's kind of annoying. Now, of course, the best part of the movie, popcorn. Basic smart outlet on your popcorn machine and you're in business. Won't work for microwave popcorn, but I prefer air popped. It's a little healthier and it's easy to work with. Again, this is a pretty basic trigger. Basically, if we go from idle to playing, we're going to run our movies mode. And as I mentioned before with Kodi and Plex, you can actually add a condition in there and make sure it's actually a movie you're watching, not just some TV show. Our movie mode script, it puts it off. All right, so once you start your movie, what should happen? Well, first, we set the ambiance. We turn off the living room light, and we're going to turn on the floorboards. That gives us the movie theater experience there. And then the fun part is if we have popcorn ready. So this condition right here is basically saying, have I prepped the popcorn machine? And if I have, then we're going to continue. If not, we're going to exit out of here. So if I have the popcorn machine prepped, I'm going to turn the popcorn machine on. And then I'm going to notify my family that there will be popcorn ready soon. Then we're going to delay 5 minutes, because that's usually about how long it takes, and then we're going to turn off the popcorn machine. We don't want to waste electricity or burn the popcorn, because that smells disgusting. Right. And then, where is it? All right, so let's get super, super duper fancy. You can build a little hopper with a Raspberry Pi, and basically have a little hopper of popcorn kernels at the end of the removes the need to set that flag on whether or not popcorn's ready. It automatically feeds the popcorn machine and turns it on. I don't have that implemented. When the movie's over, you gotta turn the lights back on, but make sure the sun is down, otherwise you're gonna be letting some electricity or you just got really bright light out. If you have some smart electronic blinds, you can throw those into the mix. And my wife is a talker. She loves to talk. I've been toying with the idea of using a microphone around. She usually has a couple spots she sits to detect if she's speaking and send a pause command to me. Problem, I haven't figured out how to tell it's her talking and not somebody in the movie. So if any of you guys want to go out there and send me your code, I would really appreciate it. All right, so, I mean, that's awesome, but it may not support every device. Well, that's not a big deal. It's open source. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the component architecture and how Home Assistant's terminology works so you can implement your own. Home Assistant uses the term platform. Platform is basically the API. So Philips Hue is a platform. We got the Wink, which is a platform. We've got Nest, which is a platform. So Nest, Nest is basically thermostats. It's got lights, which is a whole bunch more. They're always constantly integrating more. The built-in Insteon hub is pretty limited. It only lets you control lights, but the hub itself, you can do a lot more with motion sensors and switches. You can even do leak sensors where you can detect leaks in your house. The Wink hub is kind of like the Insteon hub, only it uses a different protocol. You can control locks, lights, switches, and even valves. You can actually put a thing on your valves and it'll turn your water off. So, example, I have a leak downstairs, turn off the water to the house, try to prevent too much damage. Philips Hue, pretty familiar with that. Just a bunch of lights. They have a few other devices. Wemo is a mesh network. Basically, it has devices ranging from lights, switches, sensors, and more. So basically, if you have something that's completely new API in the system, you're going to be implementing a platform. Now, a component is really straightforward. It's the digital representation of your physical device. Pretty straightforward. And then a domain. A domain is just a fancy term for the device category. Here are some examples of the existing home. More to talk about. I can slow down. So these are just some of the baked-in domains. There are more. We got the alarm control panel. So if you actually do have monitoring service, it will actually integrate with half of them. I don't know. I don't use them. Binary sensors, webcams. There's like 7 or 8 different kinds of webcams. Device trackers. They even have garage door openers in here. Roller shutters is basically your blinds, lights, locks, switches, thermostats. When I first picked up Home Assistant, I realized it didn't have ceiling fan domain. And I really wanted, I could send a command to a scene on the hub, but I couldn't actually say, set the fan to medium directly. Of course, so right now, I'm going to hope that there's some questions. Basically, I can either show you how to my configuration, I can go through some code, I can answer questions about support, any questions to start with, any ideas on whether you want to see configuration or you want to see how to implement code or how it works. Or you can just sit there and stare at me, whichever one you want to do. Yeah.
It's not really a code question, but you mentioned servo ductwork.
Mm-hmm.
Have you used it?
I have not, but
because I'm really intrigued by it. I don't know if
you just need a little small like Arduino or something that runs a little motor, separate motor to turn it on and off.
You don't have to like get a special duct. It works with any duct.
What I was thinking is a DIY. They may have actual smart ones that you can integrate that have them in there. But my thought process was just a little servo, a little Arduino with a little Wi-Fi and a battery pack. It just turns on and off the duct. Yeah.
I've always wanted to jump into this. I've never done anything hardware before, so it's a good spot to kind of like jump in as a first
How much electronic background do you have?
No.
Okay, so probably one of the first steps would be pick up pick up a hub, like a Link hub or Smart Things or Insteon. Those are pretty easy to work with. Grab some devices and install them. Smart outlets and light switches are going to require you to actually remove your old ones, so please turn off the breaker before you do this. Usually pairing it with the hub is really straightforward, then you just have to give it a name, kind of clutter things, and then plug it in the home assistant. A lot of hubs will actually have some automation kind of built into them. The Link hub has a little bit more than Insteon. They all integrate usually with If This Then That, which is a cloud-based sort of version of this. I personally don't like it because I've found that it's really slow. My car has a little OBD reader in it, and I've tried using If This Then That to do things, and it usually takes like 10 seconds, and that's too slow for me. So.
How does the movie script know if you prep the popcorn?
It's a little Boolean flag. I can show you an example of one of them. So this is my stuff. And these are little input Boolean flags. This is actually, not all of it, I've been cleaning up a lot of things. But these are little input Boolean flags. So this one right here, like on vacation, that's used in my thermostat controls and also my alarm. Basically, if I flip that switch, then it doesn't actually talk to any devices, it's just used for automation purposes. So in the popcorn instance, you would have a, should I make popcorn? And you toggle that on or off. I actually have tablets around my house that have this up on at all the time. So the popcorn machine's right there, prep it, hit the button, and then whenever I hit play on the movie, it starts making it again. I usually try to keep it up to date before, basically empty. As soon as I empty the popcorn, I put it in my car and I'm ready to go. Yeah.
So do you run all this on like a home server, or do you run it on like cloud? Or?
I have a Raspberry Pi that runs my marijuana grow on this. I have a Raspberry Pi that runs my sprinkler system also on this, and I also have a home server at home, which has. Yeah, it's a pretty beefy server. I have a 16-bay SAN that has like 20 terabytes of space. I run a media server also. I basically am like a Netflix for my office. And I rip all my movies at 100%. So like all my Blu-rays are like 30-some gigs. But, yeah.
So like Home Assistant runs on that server?
Yeah, they all run right there. I really should have set it up as like virtual machines, but at this point, it's a little too late. It's running too much stuff. I'd have to build out a separate machine to start migrating. Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering how you deal with power supplies for all these things, and how many of these things are using the new generation of low-energy chipsets.
Well, my smart outlets and light switches are wired directly into the wall wherever my old light switches were, so they get power right off the circuit. My motion sensors are batteries. They do have a little sensor on them that I also have it set up so that if the battery sensor is low, it sends me a text message so I can go change it. I have little hidden door sensors inside all my doors that also run off of the AA battery. Again, it has a little sensor in it that notifies me that it needs batteries.
Do those batteries last years or a year or 6 months?
I haven't had to replace them yet. I've been running them for about a year and a half. So. Some other cool things that you can do with Home Assistant. I have my speedtest.net on here, and not only does it show it, it shows it on a graph. So I had CenturyLink stop by my house and try to sell me CenturyLink, and I pulled up my graph and I'm like, can you meet those speeds? The guy lied to me and said he could, and then I had to go through that whole thing. But yeah, there's that. This is my alarm system. It tells me if it's armed or disarmed. Front door sensor, garage door. These are travel times. Grace is my wife, so this is the travel time for going from her office to my house, and from my house to her office. This has my weather and all that kind of stuff for precipitation, tracking that. I mentioned the logbook earlier. So here's the logbook, and it takes a second, but as you can see, it's like reverse chronological order. Basically, anything that happens, it's logged in here. So my commute in the morning my commute in the evening changed up to 31 minutes. So at 4:54, my travel time from my office to my house is now 31 minutes. Another really cool thing about that is I can actually tell you rush hour. So I can tell that if I'm going to leave my house, I've got to leave before 7:30, otherwise I'm going to be sitting in traffic for a little while longer.
Does that account for like, you take a stop off at the store or something?
No, that's just literally like start to end. You can change it if you do the bus. You can actually tell it, I'm going to be taking the bus, and it'll give you travel times from that. Biking as well. I have all the weather. All my weather stuff down there. Screen does not want to scroll all the way. And I have lots and lots of sensors. I've spent a lot of money and time on this. The CEO of my company actually will say, you will not meet somebody who will spend more time and effort to being lazy than Teagan.
To put this in perspective, her house texts me when she's showing up at my house. and to make it even better, she won't give me a key, so her house just unlocks when I show up. So, lazy.
It also has, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, have you tracked like electricity bills and stuff to see like if you're saving more than you're spending and all that kind of
No,
stuff?
but I actually ordered some Z-Wave based energy monitors that I'm going to put in my circuit breaker and monitor the circuits, because I feel like maybe some circuits are using more than they should be, and this will help me kind of judge of like, oh, I need to turn the TV off more or whatever.
So this is really pretty cool stuff, but you need to be a nerd to get this.
What?
Well, I don't think that I could ask my parents to write code to automate their home.
No, you don't need to write code.
Well, I saw a bunch of code.
That was all just configuration. You don't have to use those templates. You can literally, I can show you. 1 second, I'll get to that. But I wanted to also show you that I have GPS tracking on my phones, so it'll actually show me wherever people are. Grace is at work right now, so it's kind of in there. So these are all the places. That's James's house. I made it really big. And then you were asking about code.
Well, and that's not the whole question.
Oh,
The idea here is, obviously, I think we should all be doing this.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
It will reduce our footprint. What are companies doing to sort of help make this happen everywhere? I know there's nests and things like that, but they're very limited in scope, I think.
Yeah.
This is way more advanced. I think we already have this information on our devices that we can use. Do you know of any companies? Are you involved in anything that is more of a macro picture on this?
No, I'm not. I love the projects. I help with them. I send all them to use it on quite a few different places.
I know there's some companies that do it. Like there's one called Vivint, but they want to charge you like $50 a month or something for like 24/7 security monitoring. But then they'll give you like all the devices and stuff. I mean, it's nothing to this level.
Right.
James, how do I make it?
If I can speak to that, I'm kind of the one that got Teagan interested in the whole IoT thing in the first place. She didn't care before I started pushing on her. One of the problems with kind of a mass market approach is that they're actually offsetting the cost it takes them to get that into your house by trying to get your data back. So you become that product.
But you're also paying for it, which is
Exactly.
silly.
And so like if you're doing a monthly service and they're selling your data, it gets really in that gray area of how much of your life do you want to share with these marketers. A project such as this is really great because you get to control everything. It runs on a computer as small as a Raspberry Pi, and you pick those up for $35. So yeah, there is.
That appeals to me.
Yeah, totally.
It doesn't appeal to general public.
And I think that's probably like an industry problem of
Right.
those big companies that make it that plug and play. They don't want it to be that easy. They want you to default to theirs because it makes them money. So without some really big community movement, I don't know if it's going to change anytime soon.
So, as James was saying, like when he shows up at my house, it unlocks the house, so when someone comes home, I basically am saying we're not home, but now somebody is home, we're gonna run the arrive home script, and in there, it basically turns on my alarm, or unlocks my alarm and unlocks my house.
And that's based on their phones?
This one is based off of my router and the MAC addresses of the phones. You can add more with GPS tracking. But the easiest way is literally plugged in, and half the routers, I think Belkin routers, Asus routers, a couple other ones, the Tomato and DDWRT are both supported. It basically watches for new devices on your router, and you can name them. I'm not going to show all of them because there's a huge list of different devices, all of that. I also have Alexa built in, so I can actually talk to Alexa, and it talks to here. I have this action intent, very complicated, but basically it's telling me I need to know what device I'm trying to do. I know what service, and so I'm basically saying if it's a front door, door lock, bro, whatever, we're going to do something to the lock. And if we're telling it to open or unlock, we're going to unlock it. If we're telling it to close or lock, we're going to lock it. And then I have it respond with Eddie from Teagan. Because I don't like Alexa's voice. It's kind of annoying.
And this all looks serious, but the way she got into this was programming Alexa to insult me.
I did. I actually built
It's all you're into something.
She had a full list of insults.
I had a whole list of insults. One of the best ones I loved was that your beard looks like Bigfoot's genitals. So yeah.
She makes it look serious.
I mean, it's really easy to build out. If you do want Alexa, you do have to have your server behind some sort of HTTPS. Otherwise, just Alexa will not talk to it. It requires it.
Have you investigated any of the kind of security issues with this? Like trying to see what their
I actually have thought about doing some of it. There are a couple of things that look kind of like a little fishy. The way I look at it is if somebody has spent the time to try to hack into my house room, like to get it unlocked or whatever, then I am not living my life in a way that is conducive to my philosophy of be nice to everybody kind of thing. Does that make sense? Like, I do have a password on it. It's not a super complicated password. And I have looked at some of the security behind it. Some of them seem to be sending the password as plain text, but the front end to the back end. And the front end is actually located on the same box. So it's not that big of a deal, but it's definitely, I don't think it's, quote, enterprise ready. I don't have to be worried about that.
How many house notifications do you get every day?
I got a bill for 97 cents from Amazon Web Service, which was about 125 texts over the course of the month, and some of that was some debugging. I have it set up to notify me when myself or Grace get to work and when we leave. Have it text when the alarm is on or armed, so I know that I've got armed, so that way I'm not worried. Well, did it log? Sometimes it might have a glitch. It also texts my family, which doesn't text me, but it does apparently annoy them when you don't put a delay in there, because next thing you know, they're getting 5 texts saying, Persia's at the house, Grace is at the house.
said you had a dog. Do you have anything like?
I'm looking into it. He actually, the other day, we locked him outside and we go over to James's house. 20 minutes later, we get a call from an unknown number saying, yeah, we have Marvin on our front porch. And I've looked into it. There are about 5 different GPS tracking devices for dogs that go right on their collar. One of them is Whistle. It's cheap. It's like 80 bucks. But I asked them if they had a public-facing API, and they don't, which would require a little bit of hacking and kind of looking into how it works. Other ones do, such as Nuzzle. That one's 180. I definitely want to get into it, but he doesn't. That's the first time he's ever escaped, so I'm not too worried about it. He usually comes with me to work and stuff anyway, so he doesn't have a lot of opportunity to escape. Well, I'm actually just about out of time, so that's it.